Okay, so now we have taken our image, we've done our white balance adjustments, we've done our edits within Photoshop, and we're pretty close to done. And I say pretty close because I've done as much as I want to do in Photoshop. I've got it pretty darn close to where I want it to be. I'm probably 90–95% of the way there. I like it, I could live with it, but what I always do is after I'm done with Photoshop, I like some of the different adjustment tools I have available to me in Lightroom for finishing the image. Now, as you can see here within the catalog, I have my original image, which was what we white balanced using the camera profile next to the finished image. So you can see just how far that came. And that was using the the white balance adjustment profile and the channel swapping in Photoshop, and then the different color adjustments that we did there. What I want to do now, though, is I want to go into the Develop module, and within the Develop module, I want to go down to the hue, saturation, and luminance adjustment tools. Specifically, what I want to do here is not just play with the sliders, but I want to do some targeted adjusting. What I want to do is see what I can do with the blues in this photo to make them a little less aqua, a little more blue. Now, I could play with the different sliders here in the hue, okay? But what I like most about Lightroom, this is a great tool, is the targeted adjustment. So by clicking here, what I now have is a targeted adjustment. I drag this into my picture and go over to this spot here, and what I want to do is I want to make this more blue. I want to make it less aqua, more blue, and I do that by clicking and holding down the mouse button and then just moving the mouse up and back. And as you can see, it will move whatever sliders have to do with that particular color group in concert. So they move together. There's a percentage of each of those colors in there, and as I move them up, I can see that now I have a much deeper blue, a lot less aqua in there, a lot less cyans and greens and whatnot, and I get almost more of a pure blue, and I like that a lot. So that was done just simply by clicking the mouse and moving it until I found the look that I was looking for, which is great. One other thing I want to do now, though, is I want to take a look at just how dark or how light these blues are. I mean, it's very dark down here, but I got some bright blues, I got some bright aquas. The luminance adjusting here now will leave the color saturation and hue alone, but it will take a look at just how dark and how light those blues are. I'm going to go back to the same spot, click and hold, and now go ahead and just play with this a little bit, and you can see just how it impacts the color or the brightness of the blues. And even though this was already dark at the bottom, as you can see, as I brought it back, we got all these details in the foliage that was lost. I mean, intuitively you'd want to say, okay, I want to go and do a highlight adjustment and bring back some of the highlights, but what that also does is it softens the whites. I love the crispness of the whites that we got in Photoshop. I just want to take some of the blues out of it. So as I darken the blues, the whites popped, and this is much, much better. You can see it looks much crisper. It looks much more finished. And this was without doing any sharpness adjustments. So again, all done in Lightroom on top of the Photoshopped image using targeted adjustments for hue and luminance. I can play with saturation as well if I wanted to, going into the same spot and adding or subtracting saturation for the blues. Honestly, I think this is fine as is, so I don't really want to mess with the saturation. So now I have the finished Photoshop image here with additional Lightroom adjustments in Lightroom. These adjustments now are saved in the catalog, so the original image as it came out of Photoshop looks exactly the way it is. These adjustments are only available within Lightroom. That may or may not be a problem for you. If you wanted to make sure that these become a permanent part of the image, what we want to do now is we want to right-click and then go Edit in Photoshop again, and now it's going to give me the option of editing a copy of the PSD file with those Lightroom adjustments. And I'll say, yes, I want to do that. I want to edit that, and it will open this up once again in Photoshop. All right, and now I have that. So you can see this is exactly as it was in post-adjusted in Lightroom. And then I can now go in and save this either again under the same file name. What I like to do is I'll just go ahead and just hit Command S to save, and the protocol here is it just tags another edit, so now I have an additional image back in Lightroom. So I go back in, I have now 3 copies of the file. Within my library, I have the edit, which is the Photoshop document with the Lightroom adjustments piled on top. The original edit, which again looks the same, but this has the Lightroom adjustments. So if I was to go in and reset those particular adjustments, we're back to the original Photoshop document. So you can see the changes between the two. And then I have the original digital negative raw file. So again, goes Lightroom to Photoshop and back to Lightroom. You can do all sorts of great adjustments to your infrared images and really make your images pop with a minimal amount of work.